Hey up, and welcome to Corey's Corner, Captain's Log, the 9th of November, 2025. Yep. So, I wanted to make a video talking about some stuff, as usual. And, the other day, dude, I was actually I went for a walk and I ended up standing on top of this, like, big, I'm not going to say a mountain, but it was like quite a tall, hill, basically. And it overlooks, like, the whole of my town, which is only like 5 buildings. To be honest, it's not that much. It's a pretty small area. But I ended up like standing on top of this thing. It was like that painting, dude, where that like guy is looking over the fucking, all this swirling shit. And I was like looking over the place, and I was thinking like, this is pretty fucking cool, dude. Ended up, making my way back home. The sun was setting, and as I was walking, dude, I saw, because it's like a kind of like a foresty area, on the outskirts of town or whatever. I saw this like woman. It's always a fucking woman walking back, or walking in the way I was walking, and she had a dog with her. And I'm not the biggest fan of dogs for a while, and I'll talk about that in a second about why exactly that is. But I wasn't sure what kind of dog it is. Dogs. It also, like, it depends on like people, right? It depends on the breed. Like some dogs are totally fine. Some dogs I wouldn't want to go near. Same with people. I won't elaborate, but yeah. Anyway, and the thing is like the dog kind of ran up to me, and I didn't have my glasses on at that time. I was just walking back, so I couldn't see until it was right in front of me. And it was a pit bull, which is like probably one of the worst kinds of dogs that you'll encounter. I'm not trying to make generalizations, dude, but I'm just saying, like, we all know, dude. Like, if I was a little toddler walking alone, well, not alone, if I was just walking along on the fucking path or some shit, my throat would have been ripped out of my fucking neck within like a few seconds, dude. And this pitbull did kind of run up to me a little bit, and I'm not gonna lie, dude, I did genuinely like kind of shut my eyes and make peace with like my life for a little second there, dude. I was thinking like, shit, man, maybe this is gonna fucking take me out. I wouldn't be super surprised. And the woman, of course, doesn't say anything. She's just like kind of looking and stuff. And it's like, you have a predator here. You have a vicious animal potentially. And if they're trained, it's, not the end of the world, I guess. But the thing is, I don't trust. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm just saying, I don't trust women to train pit bulls. I don't. I just don't. I'm sorry. And obviously, it didn't kill me. But, I walked back home, and the whole thing just made me think about dogs and stuff. Because, well, look, I'll tell you this too. Okay, recently, I talked about this like a while ago. I did acid a while ago. Like, I took acid. And I made a whole video about, my psychedelic experience and going camping, and I did, like whatever. And I took it again recently. I've been taking it on and off, dude, and the thing I'll say about that, I don't know if YouTube likes me talking about this, so I won't elaborate too much. But all I will say is my opinion on like psychedelics is like has shifted quite a bit in the very positive direction, in the last few months, to be honest. Is like my experience doing DMT, my experience doing acid on multiple occasions is like genuinely, I'm not trying to sound like I'm not pushing anyone in any direction. That's not what I'm saying, dude, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like these things do deserve to be treated with a lot of respect and reverence. Like, people shouldn't just be doing this willy-nilly. They shouldn't be, messing around with this stuff, especially if they're, young or whatever. But I don't think like you can really experience life fully unless you do these kinds of, substances, to be honest. And I don't mean that like, oh, you're missing out, dude, it's so much fun. I mean, like, I just like didn't understand the depths of my own mind. And like, I don't mean my own particular mind specifically. I mean just like the human experience. I just didn't get it until like I did it, until I did these, these substances. And it's impossible to even describe. I'm not even going to try and describe it, but it's just like when I did it recently, after the whole dog walking incident, and I was just like super aware of my own body when I was doing it. Like I was, you take this material, or you ingest these substances, and it's just like I just felt my body like so hyper aware of everything, like in a good, very good way. I felt very good, not just about like, I mean like in myself, not just pleasure, like, dopamine or some shit. Like I just felt very happy with myself. I was feeling my like skin. I was looking at my hands and stuff, dude. And I was thinking like, isn't it awesome that we have these machines on the ends of our wrists that are made of cells? Like imagine a cell is like a tiny little, a component of the body, and there's like trillions of these in people, and yet it can coordinate so that I think like I tell my hand through my thoughts like move. I'm doing it right now, just opening and closing. It's crazy, it's that, like, I know people will be like, okay, so what, big fucking deal, but my point is the body works. It really works. And when I was a kid, I was like, I always felt very I wasn't like, it's not that I didn't like my body or anything. I was just like, I don't really know how I feel. It's full of blood. It's full of all this kind of stuff. I don't know how I really feel about this. I was always into video games as a kid. I was like, I prefer these computers. They're clean, they're chic, and very, they work very nicely. I don't know if I want to be a person, I might rather be a robot or something, honestly. But when I started doing this, especially this last time, I took it like yesterday or whatever, I've been up like, as I'm recording this video now, I've been up for like 30 something hours straight, I think, dude, to be honest. But hey, it's fine, fine by me. I've been playing a lot of Half-Life recently, actually, video game. I'll be using it as gameplay right now, as a matter of fact. And the thing about that game is like the Combine take over. I don't want to like have spoilers or anything, but in Half-Life 2, the Combine take over Earth, and they like engineer people to be different, like they inject people, this kind of they augment people, and that's kind of horrifying. I think it's called like body horror or some shit, where and I think of these other things too, this game called like Soma, where like people are kept alive, and it's just not right, it's not. And the thing is, the body works, I was very comfortable in my own body, I guess. I don't know, it sounds kind of stupid, I guess. I don't know. But it felt very, like, at the time, I was thinking, like, wow, Because let me tell you something else, dude. I was looking at all these bugs, and I was walking along the this kind of, like, grove kind of area. There was like a creek. I don't know if you'd call it a creek, but it's like a lot of water and stuff. I was just walking along it, and I was looking, through all these cracks and stuff in the rocks, and I saw these bugs moving around, like walking around, like spiders, and you never really noticed they're there, and I was seeing them all for the first time. I was like, oh, that's cool, And the thing about, because I studied biology at university, and the thing is, you learn about these insects and animals doing stuff, but no one's actually keeping an eye on them. No one knows what they're doing. And the thing I realized is that it all works in unison. It's not just one thing. Like you learn about, the heart pumping blood, but that's happening all the time in like everything. And it's like, it was just very, and it's very cool. I don't know. Anyway, this is probably like schizo ramblings, but that's fine. And I just like, I saw myself in the mirror too when I came back, and I felt very like happy with myself as well. Like I was just like happy with my appearance. Not that I think I look very different, but like a lot of the time I don't like how I look. I don't think I'm very like attractive, and there's lots of things about myself that I would change. And I saw myself in the mirror, and it's like recently I've been doing lots of things. I've been kind of on my Patrick Bateman grind of like I have a skincare routine now. I started doing that, and my face is cleared up a lot. I got a haircut recently. I went to see my mom, and when I was with her, like I ended up getting a haircut, and all these kind of. And I usually hate getting haircuts, dude. I hate getting haircuts because it's like I hate the shape of my head. I have a very, very weird Megamind-esque shaped head where it's like very big at the top. It's kind of like it's honestly like a Tic Tac like head. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I didn't like that and all this stuff, and I just don't like how it looks, when it's short and all this kind of thing. But I just was like, you know what, like I'm doing all these things that I can do. What else can I do? And I just felt so satisfied. I felt like happy about it. Like I saw myself in the mirror, and I also, what I did was, because I mentioned this a couple of videos ago, I think, that I was going to the gym, and I was just focusing on my bicep, right? Like I was just doing bicep curls and all these different exercises, but I was only focusing on one part of my body for like a month or so now. I'd say maybe just a bit more than a month I've been doing this. And the thing about that is, again, like my whole life it feels like I'm trying to get in shape, trying to get big muscles and stuff, and it's never really worked out. Like I've never got that big muscles, to be honest. And then because what I would do is I'd go to the gym, and one day I would do my arms, and then I'd do my back another day, and legs and stuff, and I wouldn't be consistent. And I was just like, you know what, fuck, I'm just gonna try this out. And it hurt at first, dude. I mentioned in my video, I was like, oh, this is really painful. But then after I started doing it for a while, and I came back like the other day when I was kind of tripping or whatever, I looked in the mirror, and I like did the thing where you lift your arms up beside your head, and you like tense them and stuff to like show them off. And it, like, I'm not trying to like brag or anything, but they were huge, dude. They're really good progress in my eyes. They're like noticeably big. If you feel them, they're very tough and stuff. For me, that's a big deal, for me. And I'm not saying that I'm bigger than anyone or some shit like that, you know. Like I'm just saying for my own personal progress, you know. I feel like that was very very good progress. I've been eating good, you know. I've been cleaning, showering every day, brushing my teeth twice a day, which for me is actually kind of a big deal, to be honest. I know it sounds kind of disgusting and stuff. I remember last year, dude, I went a whole week without showering because the thing, I already told this story, but basically what would happen is the only reason I would ever shower is if I jerked off, and I would like come all over myself in the shower, and then I'd be like, oh, I guess I gotta wash myself off. But then I did like no fap for a week, so I didn't like jerk off for a week, so I had no reason to shower, so I just forgot. Like, yeah, anyway, like I was pretty grubby, dude. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty gross. And then I like started cleaning up, and I was like, hey, you know, I actually feel kind of good about this, to be honest. And I'm not doing it like for any, like, I know that women aren't going to be fucking attracted to me. I understand. I'm not saying that I felt attractive. I'm saying I felt satisfied in my own skin. I'm a living, breathing, human fucking organism made of flesh and blood and skin and bones and shit. And I don't give a fuck what the ratio of my goddamn face is, what the shape is, or if some dumb fucking feminoid finds me attractive. I don't give a fuck, dude. And people can say it's cope, but I just don't care. I'm just like a creature walking around eating and doing shit, and it's cool, you know. Like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, why would I care? You know, to be honest, you know. And just feeling kind of cool about myself and all this kind of stuff. And that's another thing. Sorry, that's why I mentioned the dog story. I know it seemed kind of irrelevant, but the reason I brought that up is on my dominant arm, which is my right arm, I was looking at like my muscle, and I noticed it looks really cool because there's also like a scar running down my forearm too, and it looks kind of badass, maybe. And the way I got that was actually from a dog attack. I don't want to make it sound too dramatic or anything, but you know, that's why the pit bull thing, like, that's why I said I don't fuck with dogs anymore, to be honest. And it's like, now I'm at a point where if that pit bull had tried to jump up at me or some shit, I would have I don't know what exactly, I don't want to escalate it too much, but like, if it came down to it, I would have tried to kill the pit bull, honestly, to protect myself, because I don't fuck with dogs anymore, and I'm tired. You know what I hate is dog owners, especially women. It's oftentimes women, I'm not trying to make generalizations, I'm just saying, who don't train their dogs, and then their dogs run around doing whatever the fuck they want, jumping up at people, and then they're like, oh, you know, it's just a, you know, she's just saying hello. It's like, this isn't a cat, you know, this isn't a small fluffy animal where it can just do what it wants. Cats want to be left alone, first of all. But dogs, some of them are big, and if they jump up on someone, especially a child, like, they can hurt someone. If you have a dog, you need to make sure that you're like looking at that kind of shit, you know. And this is the story of how I got this scar. Okay, so what happened is, I'll put a picture in the video now of my muscle or whatever. This is from a couple days ago. It's a bit bigger than this now, but you can see the scar. That's the point, right? So the way I got this scar is basically back in the summer, I was walking, you know, because I was in my hometown over the summer, you know, and there's not much else to do other than walk around, to be honest. I was pretty fucking bored. I'm not going to say I live in the middle of nowhere, but it's certainly like a kind of in-between urban, rural area just outside of London, but like quite a bit outside, you know. So I was walking through this kind of field. It was a big empty open field, kind of like a common, I'd say, you know, if you know those kind of things. And there was no one in it except one person. And again, I'm pretty sure she was a woman. To be honest, I'm just saying, right? And she was sitting under a tree. There was like one tree in the whole field, and she was just sitting underneath this tree, right? And she had a dog, and I took notice of the dog. It wasn't a pit bull, thank God. You know, it was just like a small, medium-sized, normal dog, right? And I was just walking through the field, you know, minding my own goddamn business. And the dog came up to me and started like kind of playing around and stuff. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't hate dogs, and I still don't hate dogs. But I was like, okay, you know, fine, I'll pet it, whatever. But eventually the time does come where I got to, you know, walk on. So I started walking away, and she's not taking any notice, by the way. She's on her phone or some stupid shit, reading some smut, probably some yaoi stupid bullshit that whatever women read. And she like kind of, you know, looks up a bit, I guess, but she doesn't actually do anything or say anything. That's fine, whatever. But anyway, I try to leave, but the dog's like jumping up at me, and it's like, you can tell it's one of those dogs where it's a smallish dog, so the owner kind of can get away with not training it very well, if that makes sense. Like, if a pit bull did this, it would be put down like a long time ago, you know. But it's like a kind of normal-ish dog, so it can get away with it. But it ends up like, I don't know if it's its tooth or its fucking claw or some shit. I don't know if dogs have claws or nails. I don't know what you'd call it, dude. But it ends up scratching my arm, dude. And I put another picture in. This was my arm, like, right after it happened. And I felt the pain, I guess, but I was kind of like, gee. So I, like, pushed it off me, and she called it over at that point, I guess. You know, better late than never, I fucking guess, dude. Anyway, I walk off, you know, do my own, still, you know, go off into the woods or whatever for my walk, like I say. And I'd say less than a minute, you know, a couple minutes, if that, after I, you know, walk away, I feel like this hot, like, liquid running down my arm. And I didn't have, like, a long sleeve shirt on or anything, but I just didn't look at my arm. So I looked at my arm, and I saw this, like, red, like, you know, pouring down. I was like, what the fuck, dude? So I cleared it off, and it was worse than it looked. This photo is when, you know, I cleared the blood off and stuff. But I was like, this is really fucking like beeping, dude. And you shouldn't have a dog if you're gonna let it do shit like this, because like I don't know if it has a fucking disease or some shit. I don't fucking know, dude. You know what I mean? And it's just not, it's not cool, you know. But it is kind of cool actually, because in the end I got a scar. And the reason I'm even bringing up this long-winded bullshit fucking story that no one gives a fuck about is that I got a scar, and I'm talking about the way the body works and the way biology works. It's so cool that the body is a fragile thing, that if you cut open this matisse, thin skin, blood starts pouring out. But then the body like heals, and I have a scar here now. It, you know, you can even see in the photo like the blood congeals and thickens, and then it blocks the. It's so cool, dude. And it's like the body works. It really, really works. We shouldn't be messing with this stuff. We shouldn't be adding things. We shouldn't be having surgery unnecessarily. You know, like plastic surgery and all this stuff. The body works. Just leave it alone. That's what I say, right? It's my opinion. I'm not telling people what to do. I'm just saying, you know. I also burnt my wrist recently. I'm not going to tell the whole story of that as well, because then people would probably start killing themselves because the video would be so boring. But basically, I was just cooking, gammon steak, as I do. You know, I'm meant to be fucking vegan. Oh well, you know, I was cooking this shit and I put it in the oven because you put it in the pan and then you cook the pineapple, the eggs in the pan as well. It tastes delicious. Cooking with Corey coming soon, definitely, dude. That's delicious. But anyway, I digress. Right, I put the meat in the oven to keep it warm, because then otherwise it'll be cold by the time the other stuff is done. And as I put it in the oven, my wrist is like burnt. I don't know, maybe I will put a picture of this in the video too. I don't know if people really care that much, but it's just like a little burn, along the top of the oven where it's like hot metal, and I was just like a retard, so I hurt myself. And it did sting a little bit, but I was like, even pain is good, because pain tells you like, hey, like something bad is happening. And I was like, oh yeah, it did. And now I have this burn here, and it's like the body will heal. The body will heal. I was walking around when I was on acid, seeing all these people. I was in a kind of, went from this creek to walked into the, the town and stuff. I was walking around the town at night, and I was seeing all these people on their nights out and stuff. And, there were buses running, and you can see the kind of, like, lots of weird stuff. Like I walked past this one house, and there was like, it was one of those houses where it has a big front window into the living room, which I'd say is like most normal houses in England anyway, And I saw this like pub bug, this British fat white pub bug guy. He's like a red skin, completely bald, middle-aged guy. And he was like perfectly on his side. And he was so fat that he had the kind of fat droops over his eyes. So you couldn't really tell if his eyes were open or not. But I think they were closed. And he was like asleep on this just mattress, no blanket, and it's just a dirty brown mattress, not even a cover on it, in the middle of his fucking living room. With like this, the like white fluorescent light still turned on. I had all these food wrappers and like crisp dust all over him and shit. And I saw that, and I was like on acid, and I was thinking like, fuck, dude, like shit, that's fucking weird. But like he still has a body. It's still working. He's not treating it right, but it's still working, And that's going on at the same time. There were like spiders and stuff walking around. It's all linked, dude. It's all connected. I probably sound like such a fucking schizophrenic maniac, but it's true, dude. It's so true. And the body is what it is, You've got to take care of your bodies. Don't do that. Don't eat this stuff. Anyway, cool. Okay, anyway, yeah. So I also wanted to talk a bit about how university is going. So right now I'm just wrapping up my something called a reading week. And reading week is basically this thing where it's like nominally the reason you get it is because it's like a week off to study and stuff. You don't have any lectures, but most people just take it as a holiday. My friends left, back to the hometowns or whatever to go on essentially on holiday or to work or whatever, right? So I was here by myself, which is fine by me. It's whatever, for the most part. But before I had my reading week, I had to go do this like lab work thing, and I wanted to talk about it because I thought it was kind of interesting and kind of ties into what I'm talking about when it comes to like biology and stuff, dude, because that's my major is biology, and the lab work we had to do was like a 3-hour long one, dude. It's fucking awful. And now I'm going back on Wednesday. I got a 6-hour fucking long, 6 hours straight of being in the fucking lab with the same people, dude, that I'm about to talk about, dude. Fucking pray for me, holy shit. But anyway, we're working on this like DNA thing where they take like fucking DNA swabs from your cheek and stuff, and they do these DNA tests. It's pretty cool, it's pretty cool. And even though like they have my DNA sample now, which isn't really that cool, to be honest. That's not a good thing, dude. That shit probably goes straight to Mossad. But anyway, let's not even go there, dude. And something that kind of is funny, I think, happened. They had this is just a side point, but they had a big screen. They had loads of TVs in this lab. Because I've been doing lab work before, I've gone to labs before, and they have usually pretty basic labs. But this was like a high-tech, very, very high-tech lab, dude. I had to go through like security checkpoints just to get into this shit. And once I finally got into the fucking room, there was so much technology, beeping and buzzing all over the place, me, 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 and all this kind of stuff. And they had like a bunch of TVs in the room, so you could you sit somewhere and you could just watch the guy giving the lecture, or like giving the tutorial on what you're doing with your DNA. And it's like, it was just so cool, dude. It's like I was just watching this shit on the fucking TV. But they had one big TV in the middle of the room where basically they had like the list of everyone's names. And I mentioned a while ago, when I signed up to university this year, I gave myself the title Lord Corey. when it gives you the option to sign up, I just was like, oh, fuck it, I'll call myself a lord, why not? Because it just lets you do it. It doesn't ask for fucking evidence or anything. So I was like, oh, fuck it. And on the board in front of every single person in the whole class, it showed like Lord Corey, and I was like, that's pretty cool, dude. That's pretty fucking interesting. But anyway, so the lab work was led by this fucking old ass Indian dude who I've talked about before. And I've had my beef with him, dude. I've had my problems with him, I'm not gonna lie, but he's grown on me a little bit more. He's the guy who was talking about, like, he was giving some lecture about, like, stressing out rats or something, or mice or some shit, and then he started fucking virtue signaling about, like, Gaza. He's like, the conflict in Gaza has been going on for 3 years, and the genetic disorders are gonna be terrible. It's like, alright, bro, shut the fuck, we don't care, dude. How about you worry about the fucking Bengal famine, bro, instead of Gaza, dude? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, but this dude, like, was low-key aura farming. He was aura farming like crazy. Hey, he had one of those, like, lab coats on where he looked like, it wasn't like a normal lab coat, it was one of those ones with, like, double buttons running down the front, like the one that Willy Wonka's dad wore, where he, like, the guy's like, no son of mine is going to be a chocolatier. And you either know the scene or you don't, dude. But anyway, basically, it was like a certain type of lab coat, and he was walking up and down in between the aisles. All these people are just watching TV, essentially, and he's, like, walking with his, like, hands, like, clasped behind his back, dude, like, aura farming like crazy, dude. It was really, I know, like, it just sounds so retarded to say it out loud, but I had a lot of respect for him because he was a smart guy. There's no doubting he was very smart, and the thing about this lab thing, dude, is all the time I was in this lab room, the only thing I could think about was this super cute girl who was sitting one seat away from me, so there was one guy, one stupid fucking schmuck in between me and her. If only, dude, I had been in his place. And she was just amazing. She was a little bit older than everyone else in the room, but she was just so beautiful, dude. And I don't, like, believe me, I don't say this kind of thing lightly. I really don't, dude. I don't like to kind of hype women up and be like, oh, she's so attractive, dude. But she just was. She was like, she'd speak, and she had like a South African accent, dude, which was so, like, I love that shit. It's like obviously she's like white, so South African. It's probably like the Dutch. My Dutch radar, some people have a gaydar where they can detect, like, gay people. I have a Dutch dar. I don't know, it doesn't fucking work, whatever. That's a stupid joke, but, like, I can just pick that shit up and it's like, straight over to her. And she's like blonde, which usually, to be honest, isn't really my style. That's not my type, if I'm being honest. But I don't know, she was like fucking Mai from Ongezellig, which is a good TV show. If you don't know, it's a good TV show where she, like, had, like, orangey skin. She was, like, glowing, radiant, so alluring, just absolutely bloody gorgeous. I was thinking, oh my goodness, dude. And, she's just so cute, dude. She's just so cute. And I was, like, looking at her the whole time and, like, thinking in my head, like, I gotta talk to her, I gotta say something to her. And in the end, I did. I was like, what am I gonna say? Like, what I was thinking of saying was, like, oh, are you from South Africa? But that would just be the most retarded shit to say ever. And then she'd be like, either she'd be like, no, and it would just be fucking weird, or she'd be, yeah, and it would still be pretty weird. Like, what's it going? It's going to be a conversation. Of course it's fucking not, dude. It's just stupid. I'm glad I didn't say that shit, dude, to be honest. Because sometimes people say, they're like, oh, you might as well try, you might as well say it. But the thing is, I have classes with these people. Like, I've got to go do a 6-hour-long lab session with these people in, like, a few days. Like, I don't want to embarrass myself any further than I already have in these classes, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. And the thing is, I was just thinking that, like, the reason this ties into all this kind of biology stuff that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if anyone's still listening and anyone is still with me, which I'm kind of doubtful about, but oh well, is, like, I was just, like, looking at her in a certain kind of way where, I'm not trying to sound edgy here, but I was thinking of her in a very biological way. Like, she obviously has organs and shit. And this is before I did my my acid recently, by the way. But I was just thinking, like, she has all these organs inside of her and there's, like, blood pumping around. It's just nice, dude. Like, she's just the most perfect creature to ever exist, dude. Just so cute. I had to admire her from a distance, dude. It's like when you see, like those things where like the football player, or sorry, the soccer player looks at the fucking trophy, looks at the fucking trophy through like a glass case, and he's not won it or whatever. He just has to admire it from a distance. I just knew, like, I can't do it, dude. I just can't have it. It just doesn't work. She's not going to be with me, I know, but I just wanted to fucking like cut her open and crawl inside of her skin and shit, dude. She had like freckles all over. She was so cute, dude, so cute. Like I was kind of like gooning to her in my head. Yeah, it's like a scenario where it's like I have no dick and I must goon, because I couldn't jerk off in the class, obviously. That's fucking ridiculous. I know we're collecting like DNA samples and stuff, but even I wouldn't go that far, dude. And the thing about that is, okay, I don't know if I want to really tell the story, but this is something that happened to me on Halloween. This was the same day, right? This lab thing was on Halloween, and then I came home, and this was my Halloween evening. So I had ordered a quarter zip like kind of jumper thing, and it's a pretty famous one. It belongs to I'll put a picture on the screen, but it's like a 1-for-1 copy of this one, as owned by the famous Mr. fucking Jeffrey Epstein, dude. And I was thinking about Jeffrey Epstein a lot recently, to be honest, because I was thinking also about like Marquis de Sade. I made a whole video talking about that, and I realized, dude, the more I looked into it, I realized like in many ways this Jeffrey Epstein guy is a modern day disciple, or it's like a modern day reincarnation of Marquis de Sade. Well, I guess he's not alive anymore, whatever, or neither of them are, but he was rich, powerful, relatively politically connected, which if you read 120 Days of Sodom, the main characters, like the main 4 guys, are all like powerful political people who like manipulate their wealth and power to like abuse the children, essentially, to be honest. There's no other fucking way to say it. And so did this Epstein guy, dude. And he has a fucking island, and they have like a castle where they go to or some shit to do this, the 120 days where they do all this depraved stuff. And I was thinking about like doing a Corey's characters video about Jeffrey Epstein, but I figured that probably wouldn't go over too well. So I just had to like, I don't know, but I thought it would be funny to get this quarter zip, because I thought it's genuinely like a cool thing. I'll put a picture of myself too wearing it, just showing it off, dude. And the thing is, it arrived on Halloween, right? It arrived on Halloween. I didn't order it specifically as a Halloween costume, but it just happened to arrive on Halloween, right? So I was thinking, okay, cool. I put it on. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I was feeling really cool, rolling up the sleeves, recreating the fucking classic image, dude. Recreating the classic fucking image. Anyway. And, I ordered pizza, so I ordered some cheese pizza. No, I literally ordered, from a local pizza place. I was like, fuck it, it's reading week. I finished half a semester. I deserve to be rewarded with some slop, which I wouldn't do that now that I've had this epiphany about how the body works. I'm only going to be feeding my body good, healthy food from now on. But at the time, I was like, fine, I'll just have a cheese pizza. I was kind of doing a bit of RP in my head, like, oh, like Epstein, ordering cheese pizza or whatever. Okay, we're not putting that in the video. Anyway, the pizza fucking arrives. Get a call from my fucking, third world imported fucking delivery driver. He's like, oh, it's here, whatever. Can't even fucking speak English, fine, whatever. Making him drive through torrential downpours to deliver my slop to me. So it comes, and I look, go out to the fucking, out the front gates to pick it up. And as I'm walking out there's like a Halloween party, I guess, going on in like the common room where I live. And they're really fucking loud, for the record, but I won't even go there. And all of a sudden, I hear this voice behind me, and she's going like, Jeff. And I'm thinking like, she can't be talking to me, dude. But then I remember like, oh, I have this fucking like quarter zip on. I look like maybe I look like fucking Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know, dude. So I like turn around, and she is talking to me. And it's this girl. I do recognize this girl, right? She lives in the building that I live in. She's kind of bloat max, to be honest. And I'm not, this is what I'm talking about. I am judging. I was about to say, oh, I'm not judging. I am judging. People need to take care of their bodies, and fat, or adipose tissue, as it's called, is just another biological material. There's nothing wrong with having some fat. Everyone has fat in the body, but it's about having it in excess. She has fat in excess. I'm just gonna say it. And if this South African cutie pie that I was seeing in my lab was like a 10 out of 10, she was like 0 out of 10 Vanta Black coal, dude. She really was. And she's like from like fucking Morocco or North Africa or some shit, which is fine by me, dude. I would consider that white. Hey, man, I would consider North Africans to be white. And what my waifu is from Algeria, I'll put a picture on the screen or whatever, dude. So I have no problem with like brown people. Well, I wouldn't consider them brown. And, like, that's not my point. It's not like, oh, I'm not going to go with her because, she's not fucking Aryan or some shit. But, she's just annoying, dude. She just smokes. She always hangs out by the fucking benches smoking cigarettes and shit, saying dumb stuff. And she was clearly drunk. You could tell she was drunk, dude. But she, like, kind of followed me out to get the pizza. And I was even saying to her, like, you're not getting any pizza off of me, because I know how these girls' minds work, dude. I know how they work. But she like held my hand. She like forcefully grabbed a hold of my hand. And I'm just going to say, like, I'm not going to beat a dead horse because it's so boring to even talk about. But I will just say, like, obviously, if I had done that to a woman who didn't want me to hold her hand, like, I would be probably in prison or some shit by now. But women can just do whatever they want, apparently. But, you know, whatever. I'm not even going to go there. And I walk out, you know, get the pizza and do whatever I'm going to do. And she's kind of talking to me and stuff. And, she's kind of like, she's drunk and stuff, and I have this kind of implicit thing in my mind where I assume a girl's kind of either making fun of me or it's just like a mean trick she's playing. But she was actually talking to me. She's like, oh, you know, do you smoke? Let's smoke together and stuff. And I was like, no, again, another thing you shouldn't be fucking doing. You know, I said, don't do that. And then she started talking about, like, I'm not even gonna like bullshit you guys, like, she started talking about like my dick and stuff. She was like, oh, you know, I don't remember exactly what she said, but she was saying some very like risque thing. She's like talking about like my cock and stuff. I'm not even gonna repeat the thing she said because it doesn't bear repeating, but it was, and I know I'm not being the fake cell accusations and stuff, but the thing is, maybe I have been putting more effort into my appearance, who knows, and she is kind of like a adjusting for hoflation, dude. Maybe she is my looks match, I guess. I don't know, maybe I'm just a fake cell, I don't fucking know. I guess at the very least I'm not a hand-holdless kissless hugless virgin now. I'm only a kissless hugless virgin because I got like raped by having my hand held in, you know, involuntary non-consensual hand holding, but that's neither here nor there. And she had like pudgy hands too, dude. I didn't like it. As soon as I came back in my room, I washed my hands really fucking thoroughly, dude. But whatever. And it's like, I don't know what the point of that story is really, but it just was a funny thing that happened. I was just thinking about like the South African girl in the class, and it's like, you know, we were collecting these DNA samples, dude. I wanted to generate a DNA sample for her, you know. I wanted to collect her fucking DNA, you know. And this is the thing, is like, when I was on acid, I understood like the way the body works is like the penis goes inside the vagina, and I wasn't even thinking about it in like a horny way, but I was thinking about it in a very, very sexual way, but not in I wasn't like jerking off like, oh yeah, yeah. I was just thinking like, that's so romantic, you know. It's so nice that you could do that with someone you really well. I couldn't do that with someone. Maybe I could. Fuck it, I don't know. But you know, you could do that kind of thing with someone you really love and you care about. And I think like, you know, quote unquote naughty things, or, you know, taboo things like sex that you wouldn't talk about, you know, openly, and just, you know, or maybe you would. I do apparently. I think those kind of things feel better with people that you like, love and stuff, you know, and people you really care about. And I was just thinking of this movie, you know, Taxi Driver. Classic movie. Great movie. I've always been repping that on the channel, you know. Classic BP movie, dude. And in the movie, there's this scene where the main character, it's not like a sloppy porno movie, but basically he goes to like a porno cinema. Back in the 70s, I guess, where these were like things that people went to. And there's just these like old school 70s like porno shots where it's just like really hairy people like fucking, basically. Because I'm pretty hairy too, dude. And I was just thinking of those like videos, and I was thinking like, it also shows like the sperm going into like the fucking egg and stuff. And I was thinking like, I don't know what I was thinking, dude. I was just thinking like, this is really nice. You know, I wish I had somebody who I was kind of in love with, I guess, to do this with. But oh well, fuck it. Not today. Anyway. And yeah, and the thing about the Halloween party, sorry, I'll wrap this up. But basically, it was very, very loud. What happened was I was asleep during the day. I went to this whole fucking long-ass lab thing, came back, was super BP'd about the South African girl who's so cute. I still can't get over it, dude. I still see her face. Even when I close my eyes, I see her. She's beautiful. Big, strong jawline. That's what I like in women. I like a big jawline. I like, what's the name? Jackie Kennedy, where she has like a big she's fucking like sheet metal. And I like that in women, dude. A strong jawline is very attractive. To me personally, but I know it's kind of an ironic thing for like a BP tuber to say, but you know, whatever. And anyway, yeah, sorry, I was trying to get some rest, you know, go to sleep after I came back from lab, and there was this like banging on all the fucking doors, people running around, and usually this is at nighttime or whatever, you know, but the thing is, this was in the day, and I was like, you know, bolted awake. I was like, what the fuck? And basically people were opening the doors. I guess it was like this fucking staff who work here at this apartment building for some reason. And they were going around the doors and shouting into people's hallways, which is like unfathomable to me, because that's such a breach of fucking privacy. This is where I live, and these people are using their staff keys to open the fucking door, and they're yelling into where people live. They're saying, "There's a Halloween party, you know, free alcohol, free alcohol," and it's like, fuck off. You know, I live on the fucking bottom floor, and I hear every single time someone comes into the building, because my window's like right next to the front door, I hear every single time someone comes in, every single time these Chinese people are hanging around outside doing some stupid shit, I hear it. I hear these people now yelling, having their fucking Halloween party. What I did was I went ahead and booked my accommodation for next year, and now I'm living, dude, next year, I'm living like fucking Patrick Bateman in a penthouse fucking suite. Same building, you know, but top fucking floor, and I get my own kitchen. Right now I share my kitchen with like 3 or 4 other people, depending on if this woman's boyfriend is fucking staying over. That's not cool, dude. I got my own kitchen, own bathroom, which I still have now, but you know, it's like a super big room, you know, huge fucking windows. This shit's awesome. I mean, it's still technically student accommodation, dude, but it's like I was working over the summer. I saved up a lot of money. I was like, fuck it, dude. Yeah, let's live a little, dude. Let's fucking decide Epstein Max and use my money for you know, some cool things, dude. You know, yeah. Anyway, and yeah, aside from that, dude, university's going pretty good. I just feel like the thing about the studying is I want to make a video talking all about like how to study, I guess, if that makes sense, about like my techniques, because I feel like I'm not trying to like jerk my own shit off or toot my own trumpet, but I feel like I am pretty good at studying. You know, I do get good grades on the things that I try hard on, and I feel like I can learn most things. I'm pretty smart in my like, again, I'm not trying to like fucking, you know, massage my own taint or whatever, but I think I am like, I feel like I have some wisdom to share, so I want to make a video talking all about how to study as well. You know, the new semester or half semester, whatever's kicking off again, you know, there's a new thing starting. We're going to be going back to classes soon. It's like, I feel like studying is a lot like being on campaign, you know, when Napoleon was on his fucking horseback riding around the fucking going with the army. Studying in my autistic weird brain, it kind of feels like the same way, you know. It's like studying and learning stuff is like conquering places, because you're conquering difficult to understand topics, dude. And if you're going to say, oh, that's autistic, you're a retard, maybe you just haven't learned enough stuff to really understand what that feels like, dude. But it feels, maybe it's just my own mind, I don't know, dude, I don't know, but I just feel like doing acid as well, like this is one of the symptoms of doing acid. It doesn't make me feel like I know everything, because the first time I did it, this is how I felt, is that this makes me feel like I know everything and that anyone could come to me with any problem in the world and I could solve it. And I wasn't sure how I felt about that. I was like, I don't know if I like that feeling, because it feels kind of arrogant, you know, it doesn't feel right. But I realized that as having had more experience in doing this stuff and doing bigger doses, you know, I've been doubling the dosage and stuff, which probably isn't a very good idea, but I will. I realized, like, it's not that I feel like I know everything, but I'm comfortable not knowing everything. But I'm also comfortable saying, like, the world works, you know, like I'm saying the body works. It doesn't matter if I don't know how all of it works, you know, maybe I can figure it out, I can try and learn, understand it better. But it works, that's the important thing, the world is working, you know, and it just makes me feel comfortable not knowing everything. You know, it just chills me out, dude. It does. And I just feel like, if studying is like being on campaign, I have this kind of urge within myself to like conquer the whole world, which would be like the, you know, by way of analogy or allegory or whatever, would be like, you know, learning everything there is to learn, which is a cool idea. I feel like lots of people probably, you know, feel that same urge, but it's not achievable realistically, you know. And the thing is, I feel like a lot cooler with myself, you know. I feel like a lot better about myself. But maybe, who knows, in a week, or maybe I'll go back to feeling like complete shit. I don't know. I need to do some more acid. I don't want to become like dependent on anything, you know, or have some kind of maladaptive whatever. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. Yeah, I guess that's kind of all I have to say. Just the thing about studying, dude, it's like, you know what they say, as Icarus fell, he smiled because he knew it meant that he had soared. I wanted to fly across the sky like a firework, then explode and disappear forever. If only I had endless time. Give me a place to stand, and I would conquer the world. For I must have flown so high that I surely fell into the sun. Yeah, pretty much what's going on, dude. Anyway, yeah, thank you for listening. You know, if anyone's still fucking listening, I don't know, dude. This was a long one, and yep, that's pretty much it. So have a good morning, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.